Ladies, gentlemen, and Nightfarers of all ages, as you progress through Elden Ring Nightreign and defeat the Nightlords, you will start to have some more impactful events starting to appear on your map. Whether these are the shifting earth, the big, massive, full map changing events that have a giant effect on your overall expedition and your chances of success depending on how you interact with them, or the smaller events that randomly happen during an expedition, like an invader boss or an invading corrupted Nightfarer. There are plenty of events like this that are inconsistent within the game that don't happen every run. They exist sometimes, but not all the time. And aside from shifting earth, you will never know which of these you might or might not have until you've loaded into the map and seen what you've been given. So today we're going to go over all of these different types of events in detail, how to get the most out of them, what they actually offer, what they look like, and if they're worth your time if they happen. Starting off with the smaller stuff then, before we get into shifting earth, when doing pretty much any activity you can be invaded by a boss or some sort of puzzle mechanic, and these are called raids. This includes things like the Fell Omen, or once we were invaded by 2 dragons at the same time, that type of deal. These are generally a reasonably tough boss fight, but they will spawn on top of one player, and they will generally stick to the player that they spawned targeting until that player dies. If the player they have marked fully dies, the boss will despawn and disappear. But if you defeat the boss before that happens, you get a bonus boss power, you get an extra pile of runes, as well as a passive effect that will last for the whole rest of the expedition. To my knowledge, there are 5 versions of this. The double dragons we got can show up as any sort of group of more difficult enemies or mini bosses, and defeating the group gives you a boost to the charge speed of your ultimate art for the rest of the run. The Fell Omen raid, when defeated, gives you a buff that increases your attack power anytime that you find a new site of grace in the run. There is also one of these where a weaker version of the Augur Nightlord boss shows up, and defeating it will give you a buff that makes your flask restore FP as well as HP for the rest of the run, and then the others are slightly less straightforward. Specifically, there is a Sentient Pest raid that happened while I was in the Ice Mountain. It started creating clouds of fog that would explode after a moment, and if you got caught in the radius of one of these, it would absorb a full level off of your character. It would steal the level. If this happens to you, the solution is to look at the fog as it leaves, watch it go, and see where it goes as it absorbs your level to bring it to its master. If you follow the fog, eventually you will find the Moth Nightlord just sort of hanging out in the ground, beat him up, and you will get back the runes equivalent to the levels that were stolen, so you can level up again. You will also get the integration of intelligence buff, which makes your attacks have a small chance to give you 10,000 runes. Yep, you heard that correctly, and it is nuts. There's another one for Libra, the Madness Goat boss, which is that he will show up during an expedition and you will start to lose maximum health. Like your health bar will just start to shrink until you go to the red circle it creates on your map. Once you get to him, the only way to lift this curse is for one of your party members to donate 15,000 runes. If you do that, it will clear the debuff from all 3 of you, and you will gain a buff for the rest of the run that increases your attack power relative to how many runes that you are holding. But that's not it, because you can then also interact with him further as the scale-bearing merchant, the same way that you could if you found him on the map normally, which gives you some sort of buff or item at some sort of a cost in exchange. When this happened, I chose to gain runes, so I got a special cursed relic called the Symbol of Avarice. This makes you lose a relatively small amount of HP every second, but it is of course a constant HP loss per second, so it is a little bit awkward to deal with. But in return, while you have this equipped, you get increased item discovery by a pretty large amount and 20% more runes from defeated enemies, which is quite a big buff. I then brought this with me the whole way to the Nightlord, getting tons of extra runes, and in a run that was otherwise unbelievably scuffed, we still won it. All that to say, these raid events exist. Some of them are full bosses that you just fight normally, and some of them are a bit more like puzzles or tasks that distract you from your otherwise planned out path or route or strategy. But in every one of these instances, if you are capable of completing the raid event, you should do so, because the rewards can be immense. Next up, I want to talk quickly about the Nightfarer Invaders. If you load into a map, and there's a location that has this dark blue circle around it on your map, you can just look at it physically as well in the actual world, and there will be a large crackling tornado above it, and if you go to that location, a corrupted Nightfarer Invader will spawn in. It will take the form of any one of the Nightfarers, and if you can defeat it, then it will drop upgraded gear related to that Nightfarer, including oftentimes a purple version of their base weapon with a passive or 2 2 on it as well, which means if you come across an Invader Nightfarer that matches your class, you may well get a massive upgrade from this quite early on. Especially as while they do a ton of damage, they are generally weak enough to be taken down very early on day 1 if you treat them with a little respect, and this can give you a pretty big boost in power for the amount of time spent on it, so these are totally worth doing if they spawn in your expedition, especially as they always spawn in a location that already has a boss that you can do as well, so it's basically 2 bosses worth of loot in one spot. And now finally, with all that covered, let's dive into the Shifting Earth events properly. Each one of these has a different major reward at the end of it, but along with those, they also house a number of bosses or mini-bosses and chests of loot as well. As such, these are generally super densely packed areas that are worth spending your time in. If you are in an expedition and a Shifting Earth is active, I highly recommend interacting with it, though generally speaking you want to do this on day 2. If Shifting Earth is active, the midday circle on day 2 will always have the Shifting Earth event inside of it, which is a purposeful design choice for the game. It often takes more than 5 minutes to do the Shifting Earth event completely, and so I recommend making it the majority of your plans on day 2. Like maybe make 1 or 2 quick pit stops, but most of your day 2 should be spent on the Shifting Earth if you plan to complete it and get proper value from it, outside of maybe the Rotting Woods, which can have the main objective done quickly, but there is a lot of optional bosses to clean up afterwards. As well, at least 3 of the 4 Shifting Earth events have a big bad end boss that takes a lot of killing to do, but drops a load of runes and usually a legendary dormant power reward as well, meaning that it could be a legendary weapon or a high quality passive. As for how to make Shifting Earth appear or disappear, they begin to happen when you are defeating Nightlords. As you complete the Shifting Earth and defeat Nightlords, they will go away, and you might get a new one. If you have a Shifting Earth active that you don't want to deal with at all for whatever reason, you can sleep in the bed in the round table hold to make it go away. This will not cycle it to a new Shifting Earth, it doesn't change to a different one, it just removes the Shifting Earth that is active completely. As well, I don't know how much truth there is to this so far, but I saw someone say that there is a bug that sleeping in the bed even once makes Shifting Earth stop appearing on that save file. As someone who has slept in the bed, I have not had a single Shifting Earth appear since my original set of 4, so I don't recommend sleeping in the bed ever really, even outside of that potential bug. I think that Shifting Earth are nearly always worth doing regardless. Aside from that, Shifting Earth will cycle every few expeditions regardless of what you do, and from what I've seen from players in general, you only get a new one after a successful expedition, even outside of the initial few, which definitely do work that way. That said, let's get into the specifics of each Shifting Earth event by itself. The first one that you will find while playing the game is the Crater. This starts after you defeat your first Nightlord. This one makes a big volcanic crater appear right through the center of the map, going north up a little bit. The main objective of this crater is a special anvil that can upgrade any armament to be legendary quality. This means it will do way more damage than it otherwise would be capable of, and this all by itself is a massive power spike if you have a good non-legendary weapon to upgrade, especially if you can apply it to a weapon that matches the Nightlord's elemental weakness too, preparing for that. As for how this event works then, there is an upper layer of the crater, the highest vertical section of it, and around that there is always, or at least nearly always, a gargoyle boss in the southwest, as well as a falling star beast boss on the southeast, and then in the northeast side of this upper layer of the crater, there is often a demi-human queen as well. From the north side of this upper layer of the crater, you can find a spot where you can safely drop down into the lower levels because you want to go down. The whole goal of the crater is to reach the bottom. On the north side of the lower layer, you will find what is often a fire prelate and some fire monks as a boss. You have to wipe out the whole group all together, and then you will get a boss power, some runes, and a site of grace. This opens the door behind them. Follow through here and take a right, and you will sometimes but not always find some flame chariots you can defeat if you want to, and then continue along the path. Eventually you'll reach some parkour that you need to be a little bit careful with, make it across here, and you'll find the big boss arena at the very bottom of the crater. Here you will find a big magma worm boss to take on, defeat it, and you'll get some pretty solid drops from his dormant power. You will get a pile of runes, you will get that special anvil that can make any weapon into a legendary, and then there is also a spectral hawk tree to help you get out of here as well. As by this point, you have probably spent a very long time in this location, and you're of course at the bottom of a volcanic crater. Generally speaking though, the crater as an activity is very valuable, it's absolutely worth it, but if you want to get it done efficiently, I recommend skipping the majority of the non-boss enemies that are in here. Your priority should be getting down to the magma worm, defeating it, and then using the special anvil. Though I will say, I recommend trying to line it up so you are at least level 9 or 10 when you get to the magma worm itself, as he is a pretty hefty guy. Second up for the shifting earths, then, the next one that you will find will be the Mountaintop. This one, instead of changing the middle of the map, completely changes the northwest side of the map, replacing it with a big, gnarly, nasty, frost-covered mountain. This one is arguably less rewarding than the crater, except for against one specific Nightlord, but it is also easier and quicker to complete, at least if you know where you're going. The main reward from this one is a passive player power, which makes Frostbite do half damage to you, halved buildup of Frostbite against you, and also gives you an attack boost if Frostbite triggers nearby you. So this is basically the ultimate frost resistance, but also a good bit of damage synergy for Frostbite too. The easiest way to go up this mountain is from the eastern side, and to enter, at first you are looking for these big snow-covered chains here. Follow these up, and your main goal is to literally just get more vertical as you go, because you want to reach the top of the mountain. Through this path along here, you might come across a demi-human swordsman, and then as you go further, you will find a big ice dragon that just sort of exudes frostbite buildup, and I recommend skipping this boss until after you've found the power, as this is a big ice dragon, and the mountain's reward power is all about making ice easier to deal with. So I recommend running behind the boss, going past it, and continuing to just sort of climb up the mountain path. Eventually you will hit a Site of Grace when you are near the top, and then you can interact with this crystal here to get the anti-frost buff. From here, the actual Ice Mountaintop Dragon is much easier, though it is still the main boss of the Ice Mountain, the Magma Worm equivalent from the crater. So I still recommend being at least level 9 or 10 when you fight it, and it is definitely worth your time as it has a chance of high quality dormant power, like a legendary thing, just like the last one. As well, it also drops a ton of runes. And before you even go up the mountain, it's worth noting there is a lower powered flying dragon field boss that often spawns in the valley underneath, and this always offers an anti-dragon effect on kill, meaning that it will just make you stronger against dragons, including the ice dragon on the boss, and including, importantly, if you're going against a certain Nightlord who happens to be a dragon, I would make a point of absolutely stopping for this buff if you have the Ice Mountain up. There are other smaller bosses along the mountain as well, which are a bit more randomly rolled. There are some snow trolls that can happen, there are some giant Kaled dogs, or the nasty giant crows as well, and again, like the crater outside of the main rewards, this is just a nice area that is densely packed with various field bosses, mini bosses, and enemies, so it's really not at all a bad way to spend day 2 on your expedition. The third Shifting Earth event then is called the Rotted Woods, and as it sounds, this one transforms a portion of the map, the southeast side this time, to be absolutely covered in scarlet rot in a really creepy forest with a red haze over the entire place. The reward for this is actually pretty fantastic, being basically just a Malenia Great Rune from regular Elden Ring, which is to say the rally mechanic from Bloodborne as well, the ability to regain health when you hit with a melee weapon after you take damage. As well, it makes you fully immune to Scarlet Rot as a buildup, and it gives you a pretty sizable maximum health increase too, somewhere around 20% just from eyeing the difference on the bar. Because of the way that this one works, it's a bit different than the others in that you want to purposefully bum rush the main objective when you come here, and then go back to the bosses. The main reason being that you will otherwise just permanently have Scarlet Rot in this area, so I still recommend doing this on day 2 generally, as with all Shifting Earth, but then you want to approach ideally from the south side of the map, the bottom, and then walk over into this area from there. Then you can find the tree itself in the southwest side of the Rotted Woods themselves. This should mark as an objective when you see it. If not, you will have to do the fort that is marked on your map within the circle as well. The fort will show you where the tree is just in case. Regardless of the order that you do this though, once you get to the tree, climb up the tree and interact here to get the Rotted Woods power claimed for yourself. Now that you have immunity to Scarlet Rot, it is finally safe to exist in this whole portion of the map, which means that you can go and kill all of the field bosses that are in the forest as well, and it's usually like 4 or 5 decently rewarding bosses in this area. And it's worth noting that anytime that you're on an expedition that has the Rotted Woods as an actual Shifting Earth, this means your actual Night 2 boss is going to be in the Rotted Woods. This means if you do not get the power from the end of the actual main objective in the Rotted Woods, then you'll just have permanent Scarlet Rot build buildup during the Night 2 boss fight, which, if that sounds like a bad thing, yeah, it is. Definitely do this objective if you have it on the map. Finally, then, we have the last shifting earth, which is Noklateo, the Shrouded City. This is the biggest, most potentially confusing area that happens from these shifting earths, but it is pretty straightforward if you know what you're doing. The actual place this spawns in is the entire southwestern side of the map, which gets replaced by this gigantic city. The passive power reward for completing this one is that you will recover from death a single time if it happens, so basically it is a free revive, like the items that you can get as well. It works exactly the same. And as well, as far as the city itself, as far as I'm aware, you can only enter the city from one spot, which is important to be aware of, and this is the bridge located right beside the merchant symbol on your map. There is often a field boss right outside near the bridge as well, and it is oftentimes a royal knight. Then once you go inside, this is the most direct path to the objective, because this one can take a long time if you don't know where you're going. You pop in the entrance, and then you go to the bridge just ahead, and then take a left turn. Follow this path forwards until it opens up and drops you down. You'll be shot at from a big sky moth, but you can ignore it and head to the hole in the wall here, which is an entrance into the sewers. Drop into here and follow it all the way along to find another hole in the wall on your right. Go through here and you will see a spirit spring that you can jump up, head up it to enter the upper layer of the city. As you come through this area and head up the stairs, there is oftentimes a Black Knife Assassin boss that spawns here. They do pretty high damage but are quite squishy, a nice little sort of bonus boss. Then you'll come up to the Site of Grace here in the central square area. From here you just want to head southwest up the stairs to enter the main cathedral, and inside is where you will find the big main boss of the Shifting Earth, which is the Natural Born of the Void. This again can be quite a tough fight. I highly recommend being at least level 10 for this one. It's a bit harder than the other Shifting Earth bosses even, but it tends to have some great dormant power options as rewards. After you defeat the boss, a Site of Grace will also open at the back of the room, behind which is a chest. Open the chest and you will claim the power for the location, which is the main objective. Aside from that, again, there are some other field bosses in the area. There's a dragonkin just down the stairs and a hop over the ledge from the church itself. There are a couple more mini bosses spawn around the upper layer of the city, and then there is also another field boss that spawns outside of the main wall, but on the eastern side. On the whole, whether it's Shifting Earth or otherwise, all of these inconsistent random chance events are definitely worth doing. From a gameplay perspective, they tend to just have guaranteed good drops and nice, densely packed groups of enemies that are an efficient way to spend your time during the limited length days that this game has. But then also, of course, it's just nice to do something that's not part of the map every run that you do. I hope you've all enjoyed this guide then to the random events and shifting earths in Nightreign, and hopefully it helps you out in your future runs. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet. Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.